Live from the House of LeMay Makeup and Dressing Room.
Here comes Amber. Stop what you're doing. Here comes Amber. She's just doing what she can. Here comes Amber. Cue the spotlight. Here comes Amber with 2 drinks in her hand. The matriarch of fashion, secret sewer glasses, you can't look away. Ask her, does she do it? There's really nothing to it. She's got that feminine game. If you have a party, or if you're feeling naughty, call up the House of LeMay. Here comes your favorite gal. Here comes your queen. Here comes the talk of the town. And we're live tonight. The music starts playing. It's time for cabareting on Amber Live tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, please turn off all cell phones and get ready for your host, Amber LeMay.
Why did the chicken cross the road? To sell its wings for $1.5 million. During the pandemic, Vera Lytle, the former director of food services in the Chicago suburb, ordered 11,000 cases of chicken wings that were never served to students. She was caught when an audit showed that the budget for the pandemic to-go meals was $300,000 over its limit. Prosecutors are unsure what she did with the chicken. My guess, she threw one hell of a Super Bowl party.
We ride into battle with our high heels on.
Every time somebody puts on a wig and heels and steps outside, they're making a political statement.
Yes.
That's what Rue always said. One of the few things that Rue said that I really just love and agree with.
If we are willing to walk out and into public like this, do you really think we're afraid of you? No.
I want people to look at what they're trying to do to the trans and drag community and think critically about if they're really tackling the right problem, and how hypocritical it is for them to say that the LGBTQ community is really what's dangerous for kids, because there's no evidence of that.
If you would Google Nebraska church sex crimes and Nebraska drag queen sex crimes, the list would be a lot different.
That's exactly right.
This year, and I'll remind you, we're only 5 weeks into it, over 100 anti-LGBTQ bills have been filed in 22 states. Hello, hello, hello. Amber LeMay here, welcoming you to our newest episode of Amber Live on February 19th, 2023. It's a special day. We'll tell you more about that later. But I want you to like, share, and subscribe. Please do. Thank you very much. Now, what do angry dancers and missing penises have in common? They're both a part of tonight's news briefs. German choreographer Marco Goke got his tutu in a twist when dance critic Wiebke Huster did what dance critics do. She criticized Goke's latest work. In her review, Huster wrote that audiences would feel like they're either going insane or being killed by boredom. Goke approached the critic while she was attending a different program and asked why she wrote so negatively about him. And before she could attempt an answer, Goke pulled a bag filled with his pet dachshund's dog doo-doo out of his pocket and rubbed the feces on Mrs. Huster's face. The local police department released a statement that it had opened an investigation into a case of bodily harm and insult. What a relief he didn't have a pet German shepherd. Another reason not to get on a motorcycle? Well, you might lose your penis. A human penis was found in the parking lot of a Mobile, Alabama gas station. How it got there is still up in the air. It is assumed the detached appendage formerly belonged to a motorcycle driver who lost control, fell off his bike, and was struck by several motor vehicles on a nearby highway. Police say that while multiple motorists struck the victim several times, only one stuck around and talked to the authorities. It is assumed the penis became detached from the biker, landed on another vehicle, and then fell off as the vehicle pulled into the gas station. So many questions, and I'm not sure if I want to know any of the answers. And that's this week's news briefs. All right. Russell, come on in.
Hey, Amber.
Oh, Russell, I want to admit up front, this is a recorded show because this was a big weekend for both of
Huge.
us. Yes, you and Rocco came up to Burlington, Vermont to attend the Winter is a Drag Ball, which was last night. And tonight is my birthday, which we'll talk about later. But so we decided to pre-record a show, but it's a great show.
And it's a good thing we're doing it because now we're not hungover.
Speak for yourself.
I don't want to know. Well, we'll talk about last weekend at another time.
Yes. All right, Russell. So tell us the best way to watch the show and other things we're doing.
Well, the best way to watch, as always, is on YouTube. So go to youtube.com/Amber Live. That's where we recommend you watch because that is in HD. And you can also remember that we have a TikTok, an Instagram, a Facebook page, and our brand new website. Go check it out. There are new pages that just went up. And if you can't watch Amber, you can always listen to her on the Amber Live interviews that I put out on Tuesdays, which are just the interviews. So you don't have to wade through the other stuff to find your favorite guests. So those are a lot of fun too. So there's a lot of places to find Amber, but again, the best place to watch is youtube.com/Amber Live.
All right. And how do we keep this thing on the air? I mean, we're starting our 4th season coming up. So tell us how we keep on air.
Well, we keep on air with our good friends, the Bustiers, and we love our Bustier friends. And we please, we recommend that all of you become a Bustier. You can use that Venmo there at RJD Pro, or go to our website and look for the Support Amber Live button where you can donate. And the Bustiers are so important, and there are different levels that you can join at. Any amount is welcome, but for $25 or more, you'll get a sticker. $100 or more, a sticker and a magnet, and $200 or more, the sticker, the magnet, and the mug. And again, that's Venmo at RJD Pro. And thank you so much to our Bustiers because you do keep us going.
We've been here for a while now. All right, Russell. So tell us about tonight's show.
Oh my goodness. Do we have a great guest tonight? Now, I knew when I invited her that she was going to be good, and she's huge on the tickety talks and the Instagrams, and she's turned her life into a whole business, but I had no idea what a great interview it was going to be. It was so much fun to record this interview. I know you enjoyed talking to her, and that's Mercury Stardust, otherwise known as the Trans Handyman, and it's going to be a fantastic evening.
Oh, I so enjoyed talking to them. That it was very great. Also, we've got some Amber Live updates, and I believe Rocco's coming along as well.
Yeah, if we can get him away from Drag Ball for a moment or two, we'll have him on the show.
Yes. He's spending the weekend with me, or he spent the weekend with me.
Yes,
who knows?
Who knows? Who knows?
All right, Russell, let's get on with the show and start that interview. Mercury Stardust is a professional home maintenance technician, burlesque performer, and award-winning activist. Known widely as the Trans Handyman, her unique brand of compassionate education in the home repair space has earned her internet fame. With over 2 million followers on TikTok, Mercury spreads the do-it-yourself knowledge with love. Her expertise includes rental maintenance, landlord negotiations, clogs, drywall, painting, minor electrical repairs, caulking, and more. Let's find out more about Mercury Stardust. Mercury, come on in.
Hi, Amber. How's it going?
It's going fine. Well, that was a mouthful. You do a lot of things.
I do a lot of things. Thank you for saying
what jumped out for me before we talk about the home maintenance stuff and you being the handyman, burlesque performer.
Yeah, I've been doing that for over 15 years, 800 performances. And I had 13 international burlesque awards by the time that I just officially retired in December of 2022. So now I am just focusing on all this stuff instead. Oh.
So tell me about your act. What did you do?
Well, I had a whole bunch of different famous acts that I was really known for. I was really known for the light bulb act, which was an act that I was like vaudevillian, and this light bulb would come on magically, and then I would perform. And then when I would get naked for strangers, and, and then towards the end of the act, I would unscrew the light bulb and then screw it into a light bulb thong, and I would light up the light bulb. So I did that act like 180 sometimes before I ended up retiring it. But yeah, I traveled all around the country with that one. I did a whole bunch of different acts. I was really known for my feather fans, and for my comedic timing and my magical stool that I would push down in my magical stool. And now people on TikTok know me for the magical stool too. So fun stuff.
Fascinating, fascinating. So when did you start being the handyman?
I started doing it by accident. So I was doing maintenance as what I would call my side gig, right? Like every performer thinks that they're a performer first and their real job is their second job, right? So I always viewed maintenance as my side gig in a lot of ways because I was traveling around the country as a professional performer. But COVID happened. And my side gig became my career all of a sudden. And I amped it up, right? So I was doing a lot more renovation stuff, a lot more property management for rentals, a lot more of those kind of things. So one night, April 2nd, April 3rd of 2021, there was someone who posted a video about needing help with a ratchet strap. She was trying to take a canoe and strap it to some storage stuff in her storage unit, and no one on the internet was being nice to her. She was crying when she was doing it, and people were really rude to her and were making stitches and were doing stuff on TikTok where they're making fun of her and putting her down for crying over a ratchet strap. So I got really upset, and all I did was go in my car. I had no idea how to operate TikTok. I had no idea. So I poorly did this video, and I just grabbed my phone and held it in my car, and then I grabbed a ratchet strap. And with one hand, I was trying to teach people how to use a ratchet strap, and with other, I'm like, this is how you do a TikTok, right? And the video was seen by 500,000 people by the end of the day, and I went from 100 followers to 20,000 in less than a day. And then by the end of the week, it was 100,000. By the next week, it was 200,000. And then 3 months later, it was 1 million 3 months later. And my life has changed forever. I just kept on doing videos like that. People seem to like it. And I've been doing handiwork my entire life. So trying to get by, right? No matter what, I could always make a few dollars by doing drywall and electrical. So it didn't matter if I was touring or not. If I was in Florida, and doing shows down there, I could always get an extra gig or two by just doing some maintenance stuff on the side. So I've been doing it my entire career, and it just blew up. All I did was say, hey there, hi, my name is Mercury. I'm the intersectional trans maintenance lady. Terrible branding. And I just started doing it. And then someone one day said, hey, Mercury, you should call yourself the trans handyman. And I thought that was fucking hilarious. So I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. And then it just picked up, and here I am, 2 years later. Who would have thought?
You said you've been doing it all your life. When did it start? As a child?
Yeah, I mean, my dad was really hell bent on teaching me. He wanted me to be like every boy in northern Wisconsin. Really good at baseball, great at sports, and then also good at tools. And I grew up in a farm, in a northern Wisconsin farm, and the town was 387 people. Everyone knew each other. So if I was a little weird, my dad found out. You know what I mean? If I was a little femme at school, my dad would hear about it, and then he would take it out of me later on. And he was just very hell bent on no matter what, making sure I knew this stuff. So that I kind of had a traumatic experience with learning this stuff. I learned it in a way that I don't teach it. I learned it in being yelled at and screamed at and hit in the back of the head and, belittled along the way. So the way I teach is the way I wish I was taught. So I'm trying to put that compassionate DIY in the world that I wish I had originally. But yeah, I kind of just fell into it. And because I got really good at it out of necessity and survival, that when I got into points in my life where I needed to be able to make money, I had these skills. So even though my dad was awful to me in a lot of ways, I had one skill set that was, forged out of trauma. So, yeah. And then I got a whole bunch of certifications for it. I have like 14 certifications in various stuff from HVAC and stuff like that. So yeah, the knowledge just kept on coming. And I always really liked Bob Villa. I love Bob Villa. I'm a huge fan of This Old House. I've watched everything from This Old House over the last 20 some odd years. So yeah, knowledge just kept coming.
Do you get calls a lot in person? You talked about rental maintenance. Are you a manager? How does that work?
So the way it works now is I'm a full-time content creator. I run my own company. I'm the CEO of Mercury Stardust Media LLC. But before that, yeah, I was a maintenance technician who would get called onto jobs. So like the way it worked before was I worked for whatever property management company needed me to, right? So I worked with a property management company in a rental space for about 9 months before I started doing TikTok. And before that, I worked in industrial maintenance. So I did facilities maintenance. So big buildings, big warehouses. I was doing all that stuff. And on the weekends, when I wasn't performing, I was also doing like construction jobs and paint jobs. And I worked as an apprentice for a while for a painting company. Just a bunch of odd stuff. You whatever made ends meet is what I did. And you make way more money, patching up someone's hole in their bathroom than you are going to be, doing burlesque or drag, so and I needed to pay for my makeup somehow. you know
I know
uh
that.
yeah.
How long have you been going by Mercury Stardust?
Oh, since 2014. It started out as a stage name. So I really loved Freddie Mercury and Ziggy Stardust, right? David Bowie.
Wow.
And when I was growing up, I wasn't allowed to listen to a lot of artists, but they were just in that realm of mainstream enough where I was allowed to listen to them. And I remember when I found out that like they were bisexual, right? We say that now, but who knows what they would identify as now. But like when I found out they were bisexual and how queer they both were in various ways, it like changed my life. It like made me realize that they were right there in front of me and I just didn't pay attention to it. And I just really loved Freddie Mercury's stage presence, and I really loved Ziggy Stardust's like persona on stage, and how he conveyed himself to the world. So I thought that Mercury Stardust just made sense, and I love space, and that name just spawned into this whole thing. I didn't start using it in my everyday life until about 2017, and in 2019 when I came out as trans is when I was like, well, I'm not changing my name. I've been spending way too much time with this name. I can't change it now.
How did that work when you changed into Mercury? Your past clients, your job
Oof.
situation, was that affected?
Yeah, absolutely. So as a performer, it greatly affected me because I was a world-renowned burlesque performer, which is like the male equivalent of burlesque. They gender it for some reason. But I was a male burlesque dancer. So I got I was seen all over the country as a man, right? And so it was very difficult. I lost a lot of gigs overnight. Everyone online was really proud of me. My first post about it was seen by thousands of people, and in the burlesque community, that was kind of a big deal because I was one of the top ranked male burlesque performers back in those days. So I just lost all my gigs overnight. No one knew how I was going to perform. They didn't know what I was going to be doing. So all my opportunities dried up. So then I started focusing more on maintenance. But for about a year and a half, 2 years, I didn't tell anyone in maintenance. I just pretended to be a boy still. I was open and with my life with every single one else. I started hormones while and my body was changing, and I still was not open. I was so afraid. It wasn't until the pandemic hit that I was like, I can't do this anymore. it's been 2 years. I have to make a huge change. I gotta like be who I am with everybody. And then, yeah, finding jobs was hard. I applied for a job. I had a job I had for 10 years in maintenance as a maintenance technician at a factory. And because I was furloughed and the company was kind of in hard times, they couldn't keep us all on anymore. So I decided to take my pension and leave. And I thought, hey, I've been doing this for, at this time 12 plus years. I'm going to find a job fucking easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? And I had 14 certifications. I was really well known in the maintenance world. At the time I was just a quirky guy, so everyone knew the quirky guy in maintenance, right? So I got applied for a job, and I was going to be an assistant maintenance technician, and they gave me the job over the phone, and they accepted it right away. And they said, hey, come in for an interview on a Monday. So I did. And then immediately when they saw me in person with dressing, like I normally do with a sweatshirt and pants and but with a purse on and some of my makeup on, they got cold feet real fast. And it was a really uncomfortable situation where they told me to my face, it's not you, it's us. And the job that I was accepted for vanished and everything. And it was really uncomfortable. It was an awful situation. And through emails, they essentially admitted what they did. And it was awful to know that I lost a job opportunity. And of course, I could have pursued legal action, but that's difficult. So I decided to just not pursue it and just continue to focus on my stuff. And that's when I got a full-time job again in property management, which I didn't think I was going to be doing again. And I just was a handy person around a property. The only handy person for 150 units, about 500 people. And it was a huge job. It was the most daunting job I think I've ever done. But I love doing it.
Well, a girl's got to eat. That's for
A
sure.
girl's got to eat. You're right, Amber.
Well, we want to hear more because we asked some of our fans some questions for you about some home maintenance questions. So we're going to ask you those right after this break. Yes, we will be right back with more of that fun, interesting interview. But first, we've got some Amber Live updates. 2 years ago, we first introduced you to Debbie Weilman. Debbie is the English housewife who, when COVID struck, started posting a song a day on Facebook. And people loved it. And they loved it so much, she got the attention of some American producers. And before she knew it, she was starring in a one-woman show commemorating the 100th birthday of Judy Garland. With that tour, she made an album, I'm Still Here, which we featured during her second appearance on Amber Live. Recently, she won the 2022 Broadway World Award for that album, and she won Best Special Event Solo for her appearance at Carnegie Hall, which Russell had the opportunity to see in person. All of that in 3 short years. Wow. Thank you, Debbie. And last month, we talked to California State Senator Scott Wiener about the death threats he and his staff have received because of his being an openly gay politician and the causes he supports. This week, Senator Wiener introduced legislation to rescind Proposition 8. Prop 8 was approved by the California voters in 2008 and banned the state from recognizing same-sex marriages. Now, in 2013, the United States Supreme Court cleared the way for same-sex marriages in California, but the constitutional amendment is still on the books. However, and that worries advocates who think the High Court may revisit the 2015 case that legalized gay marriage nationwide. We'll keep you updated. And that's a couple of Amber Live updates. On the first Wednesday of every month, we have Amber Chat. That's where I come on with Russell, Rusty P, maybe Dwayne Scott Cerny, or Rocco Zamboni, and we just talk. And when we were setting up this interview with Mercury, she said, hey, ask your people if they have any questions about home ownership or any things that they may need worked on around the house. So we asked her. All right, we're back with Mercury Stardust, the home maintenance ma'am. And a few of our viewers had questions for you. Now, I want to know, have you ever had problems when you're doing a project in someone's home and there are pets around?
You know, pets love to get in your way. If you put tools down, they will use them as toys. 100%. I always ask clients to make sure that the pets are crated or in another room. I also bring dog toys and cat treats with me every time I go to a job site.
Well, the reason I ask is we have a question from, let's see that, Russell. It is Dwayne from Chicago asks, how can you get a pussy out of a wall without scaring it when it has been sealed in during a home renovation? Number one, has that ever happened to you? And
Yeah.
number two, what would you do?
I mean, getting a pussy stuck in a wall, boy. You know,
Yeah.
I've never had that happen to me, but if I did, the first thing I would probably do is I wouldn't want to use a knife or a drywall knife or anything like that, but I would want to create a hole of some kind with probably a hammer, a regular 12 to 14 ounce hammer, and just bang that hole in there. Yeah, the cat's gonna get scared, but there isn't a whole lot of place for it to go. And if you can aim a little lower and then go from there and then put a cat treat of some kind and let the cat just naturally come out. I will tell you, this happens a lot more than you think it does. And the reason why I say that is because I am tagged on a regular basis, like once every week, in a new cat got stuck in the wall video. It is wild how often this happens, apparently, for kitty cats. Cats just, they see a hole, they want to go for it.
No comment there, but very good. All right. One of our international fans has another question. She works in a hardware store, and that question from Leah in Newfoundland would like to know if you know what a ball cock is and how it got its name.
I do know a lot about ball cocks. I do know a lot. So a ball cock, for those who don't know, is what they used to call a float in a fill valve. So a fill valve in a toilet is this mechanism that kind of brings everything in. It's what makes your toilet thirsty for more water, and it brings the water and it uses this mechanism on it called a float or a ball cock, and this would essentially tell you how much water you need to bring in. And I believe this was a term that they coined back in the 1790s. This is an old term when they first started to design toilets. But it was basically a ball cock was just basically the round part of it. So it only got its name because of the actual spiritual, like the spear shape it has. And back in the day, cock meant a whole different kind of thing. So it just got kind of carried in there and grandfathered into there as a term. But boy, that's one of the weird ones.
And by the way, you can't say ball cock on TikTok. they don't like
you
that.
Can't. I mean, honestly, I have a hard time saying cock on TikTok. If I'm talking about like sealant or a silicone
Caulk.
sealant,
Yes.
yeah, I cannot say it. And I have a very thick northern Wisconsin accent. So when I say it, boy, it does not sound like what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, don't go into Home Depot and ask for that.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, can I get some silicone cock, please?
Whatever you wish, ma'am. Whatever you wish.
Yeah.
What are some of the other odd jobs that you've been asked to do, or not odd, but they'll go, "Ooh, okay, I'll try it."
I've been asked a lot of different jobs over the years. I think my least favorite job of all time will be redoing a wax ring on a toilet. Those are never fun jobs. For those who don't know, whenever you take a toilet off of its like pipe system, you have to scrape off this ugly thing called a wax ring. It helps to seal underneath your toilet so you're not going to have any leakages, and it helps to prevent smell coming up from underneath the sewage system. But you got to scrape it off and then put a new one on every time you take a toilet off. And it is one of the worst jobs in the world. Right now, it's more common to use these silicone rings. They're like 5 times as much money, and they're like rubber based, and you just put them in there, and they're supposed to last for like 20, 30 years. But honestly, I don't think they do a good job sealing up your toilet. So then wax ring, as disgusting as it is still a better option than those silicone ones are, in my opinion.
If you could give a homeowner or a renter any, what would be your number one piece of advice to them?
Oh, my number one piece of advice for any homeowner would probably be located when it comes to clogs. I get so many questions about clogs on a daily basis, and I always tell people to stay away from chemical drain cleaners. Chemical drain cleaners are the death of me, I swear. Everyone wants to use Drano, they want to use liquid heat. Even Thrift, the 100% pure lye products, they're fine, right? Like these are fine products in a pinch, and when you can't take it out with a some type of auger. Hold on, I have a little product I like here called a Cobra Skinny Drain Cleaner, and these are $10. You can get these at most hardware stores at this point, and these are pretty renter friendly and homeowner friendly. And if you've never worked with an auger before, I think this is a good route to go. I have a whole bunch of videos on my TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube about this. So I highly recommend getting something like this, and stay away from these plastic products like this one. This is what we call the Zip It, and I hate these. These Zippets are so common, but what happens is, yeah, they're a little bit, they'll break in your sink or your tub, and they're also all these little ridges right here.
They're sharp.
Yeah, they're sharp, and they crack off really well, and you don't want plastic in your plumbing system. And honestly, it's just too short. Most of your clogs are going to be anywhere between 3 to about 8 feet. That's why the Cobra Skinny Drain Cleaner that's 8 feet long, it's going to do a much better job than an 18-inch Zip It. So that's my hot advice for homeowners and renters.
So that other product you showed, bring that up again. That auger,
Yep, this is what we call.
So how would you do that? How does that work?
So this one specifically is all 1 units. It's so you hold it right here in your hand and you just spin it around. Okay, this whole unit spins.
Now, do you stick that end into the drain?
Yes.
The hole? Okay.
Yeah, this end right here, this metal rod is about 1/8 inch wide. It's small enough to fit in almost any drain, but I bend it at a 45-degree angle. It didn't come this way. I made it this way, and the reason why is because when you loosen this up, Amber, and you're throwing it in the drain, you're going to tighten it up, and then you're going to try to feed it into the drain and spin it. And as you're spinning it, this is what's going to catch on those 90-degree angles, those curves in the pipes. This is going to have a lot like likelihood to catch it and then spin it and pull it down. And as each time you're getting closer to the hole, you're loosening it up, putting more down it, tightening it up, and spinning it again. You don't want to have a whole bunch of this wire out of the drain, because if you do, it's going to kink up. Yeah. And it's going to be a nightmare to do. So you want to make sure you keep the actual nozzle of it as close to the drain as possible and just keep spinning it. And
I'm going to look at that next time I go to the hardware store.
It's such a lifesaver. It's just a lifesaver. These, if you want to graduate to a more effective tool, then I highly recommend a pistol grip hand dogger. Those are the daddy version of these. These are the baby. You can get the daddy for about $25, $30, and this is only $10.
What was the name of that again?
It's a pistol grip hand auger. Everything sounds dirty. When it talks about plumbing, nothing sounds appropriate, Amber.
And that must mean why we like it, I guess.
Yeah, that's why we love it so much.
All right, Mercury, we have one more segment to talk to you about. We're going to talk to you about what's going on in the country with the drag, trans, gay community, the attacks both physically and politically. So we'll talk about that right after this message. Yep, we have one more segment with Mercury. But first, we want to talk to Russell. Russell, come on in.
Hey, so much fun to watch this again.
I love talking to her. That was a great afternoon. I'm really happy. But we've got more. We've got one more segment of that. We've got Rocco, and we've got Boog and Shug, and my special birthday message at the end as well. But you have some other things to talk about.
I do. I want to remind people that they should join the Boostiers. Those are the people that keep us going. So you can donate and become a Boostier using that Venmo at RJD Pro or going to amberlive.tv and looking for the donate button. And it is very important that we get support because we do have bills to pay here. So thank you to all our Boostiers from the past years, and we're looking forward to loading up the Boostiers this year as well.
Yes, bring it on, bring it on. All right, and we have a word from one of our sponsors.
Every time I go to visit Upper Beaver Gash, I always think, why don't they have great shops like we do down in Beaver Pond? Well, now you don't have to leave the safety of your home and risk getting that pesky Beaver 19. You can shop at the Amber Live store right off the interwebs.
And it's a better shop than Peggy's Plump and Proud. Oh, but don't tell her I said that. She's still giving discounts to the Beaver Pond players for the costumes.
I like the great products like the coffee cups I drink my morning coffee out of, or my evening beers if I feel like getting all fancy.
Down at B&B Fix-It Shop, we use large Amber Live beach towels to lay out on the grass every day at $4.20.
And don't miss the Rusty Bean collection for all your bean needs, dude.
Ditto on whatever he said. I just love their shirts and hoodies. Oh yes, that they have at the Amber Live store. Oh, they keep me so cool in the summer and warm in the winter at the Amber Live store.
So shop at the best store in Beaver Pond, or better yet, stay on your couch, eat some pork rinds, have a beer, and order right now on amberlive.tv.
Thank you to the Beaver Pond players for that commercial. If you want to learn more about the Beaver Pond players, go over there on our YouTube channel. You'll see a lot. All right, now let's get back to that last segment of our interview with Mercury. Okay, we're back now with Mercury Stardust, and we're going to talk about what's happening, as we have many times here on Amber Live, the attacks on the gay, trans, and drag communities. So, Mercury, do you have any history with being attacked, either physically or politically?
I've had gotten a lot of death threats. Since I've come out as a trans person, it was definitely something that happened almost immediately. But then when I started doing online content, it's been pretty consistent. I would say a couple times a week, I get some type of death threat in one of my emails, DMs. I have gotten death threats in my mailbox before. And I've had people follow me to my car and, do one of these. And it's been touch or go and kind of scary. And I think because I'm such a public figure and I'm so loud about my activism, that I think that sometimes I become a target for people, especially in my local community. And yeah, in our local community, we've had some issues, I think everywhere in the country, there's people who have feelings about trans people and drag people. And for a lot of people who hate the queer community, drag and trans are almost the same to them. Yeah. They don't understand the difference at all. And it's awful. Yeah.
You're in Madison, Wisconsin. Do you feel a little safer there than you would, let's say, in Omaha, Nebraska, or someplace else?
I mean, I do to some extent, right? I think I often call Madison the white liberal capital of the world, where it's like nice and friendly to your face and passive aggressive behind your back, right? I think that people are comfortable here, but that also means that they're not radical sometimes. And I think that what we need in the queer community and what we need in politics is radical rethinking and radical progressivism. Like, I think we need to be more accepting and understanding of progressive ideas and understand that's how we're going to be in better places politically. But often people are just too comfortable with things here in Madison, and it makes it hard to get stuff done. And to really think about people who live different lives than the norm. But yeah,
you've mentioned several times that you are an activist. Tell me some of your what you've done.
So I ran a weekly burlesque show for the last 5 years or so in Madison, and every single time we did that show, often we would raise money for the trans community. So I used my platform even before I got online to raise money for trans groups. We paid for people's individual medical care, and even now I'm raising $1 million for trans healthcare on March 30th and March 31st, Trans Day of Awareness, with my very good friend Jory, who's another trans person on the internet known as Alluring Skulls. And her and I are going to be raising $1 million for trans healthcare. And that's where my activism has always been, using my big mouth to raise money for other people in the queer community.
Well, that's just super. What can you see that other people who might not necessarily have your soapbox or your visibility, how can they protect themselves, or what should they be doing?
I think if we're talking about being a queer person in the world right now, I think it's important to be prepared. I really do. I'm never trying to fear monger. But I really do think it's important to understand that as queer people, we are often targets in various ways, right? And when I ran shows, I always made sure we had an exit strategy. Ever since Pulse nightclub, back in 2016, every single one of my shows had an active shooter scenario written right into it. So we would literally, before the show, every single Friday night before the show, I would speak to my performers and I would tell them exactly how to leave the building, exactly what to do if someone where they would enter, and then we would have a place to meet if anything would go down. And any venue we were ever at, we used to joke a long time ago that if anything would happen, we would meet at the local KFC, which was about a half mile down the road. But that was a lighthearted way to try to laugh at a really dark scenario. But yeah, I mean, be prepared. Have a go-to bag in the back of your car. Having an emergency bag in the back of your car is one of those life-saving things you'll ever have. This is a medical kit. This is an active shooter kit. And it's a self-defense kit. So having those things in the back of your car is really important. Having that with you, having some type of thing with you, and making sure your friends know where you're at. And I hate that we have to think about that kind of things, but that's like an active thing we should be telling each other to, like, we don't have to all be certified in weapons. You know what I mean? Like, I don't own a gun. I don't believe in guns, but I do believe in taking care of ourselves and be prepared for the absolute worst. And I always keep stuff in the back of my car and with me in my office. I have a whole bunch of stuff here for people in case anything would happen. And yeah, just being prepared and supportive and listening to each other is how we survive.
Who would have thought we'd have to be working like that in 2023?
I know.
Just
Yeah,
very sad.
with greater visibility, Amber, comes greater attacks.
Yeah.
And I am so grateful for the visibility that so many of us in various different forms have had. But that does mean that we have a very unwanted responsibility of dealing with the extra hate we get in response to it.
Right.
But I do believe only time will help us. If we keep working at this, we will be better off for it. I really do believe that.
I believe that too, Mercury. So we just got to keep plugging and doing what we do.
Yes,
Thank
we
you
do.
so much for joining us on Amber Live. What a fascinating and entertaining interview tonight. Thank you very much, Mercury.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Mercury. That was a great interview, and I really enjoyed it. All right, now it's time for Rocco, and I have no idea what he's going to talk about.
Hey, Amber, guess where I am? I'm at your place. Check it out. Look, there's your wall. Oh, look at... Yeah, that guy came too, I know. Jesus Christ. Need to get an exterminator to get rid of Russell. But look around. I don't know if you want me showing this to everybody, but Amber's got quite the wardrobe. That's all I'm going to say. You know, because when she puts it on, that means she's got to take something off. And we're all pretty happy about that part. Well, not all of us. But look, this is pretty awesome. This is pretty awesome. I'm behind the scenes of Amber Live. You know, I'm kind of excited about it. Why? Why the hell not? I lost my voice again. Son of a bitch. There's glasses and stuff. It's like magic. It's like there's magic going on back here. I mean, come on. It's Amber Live. If you're not watching, what the hell's wrong with you? I'm sorry, Amber. Of course you're watching. All right, I'll talk to you later. This is Rocco saying bye.
Thank you, Rocco. I had fun this weekend. So, as I said, today is my birthday. And while I won't tell you in years how old I am, I have lived 2,114,380,800 seconds, 35,239,680 minutes, 487,328 hours, 24,472 days, 3,496 weeks, and 804 months. Whew. I've survived 13 United States presidents, including Trump. In the same year I was born, IBM released the first computer hard disk drive, the 2,000-pound-plus refrigerator-sized IBM 305 RAMAC, which introduced magnetic disk storage. The movies Giant, The King and I, and The Ten Commandments were first seen in theaters. And the soap operas As the World Turns and The Edge of Night began, as well as The Gumby Show and The Hardy Boys Mysteries. Yeah, I've lived a lot of years. But the last 3 years here on Amber Life have been some of the best. I've talked to people from all over the world, people who I've admired for years, people who have made a difference in many people's lives, and people who were just plain interesting. All from my basement here in Burlington, Vermont's Old North End. Thank you for watching, liking, sharing, and subscribing. And thank you if you've been inclined to support us by becoming a Bustier, please. And special thanks to the Amber Life family. Russell, Rocco, Jack, Rusty, Dwayne, Craig, Lucy Bell, the Beaver Pond Players, and many others who have made it all possible. I'll see you next week. And here's Boog and Shug to send us off.
Why do you always pick your nose?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just bored, I guess.
You could pick your favorite episode of Amber Live instead.
I think I'll stick with the boogers.